is Friday, 6/6/25, and I think this is number 15 of my Anatomy of a Song series. This week I wanted to pick one of my earliest songs that I wrote. This is well over 10 years ago, probably closer to like 2008, 2009 when I first came up with this. And it's in drop D again. So even back then I was messing around with drop D. Basically, I purchased the Decemberist Hazards of Love album. Well, that was around, I think later, a couple years later. But a lot of the songs I was writing had that folklore kind of appeal. And eventually it became like a double concept album based on the Hazards of Love. I bought the Decemberist The Hazards of Love, and it came with a little animation. Every song you played, there was an animation that accompanied it, and it was just really cool. It was one of the best albums I've heard in a long time, and it kind of just inspired me to try to write songs like that. It's a weird album. There's psychedelic, proggy stuff, there's heavy metal, there's crazy guest vocalists from My Brightest Diamond and other people. Crazy riffs and just really heartwarming songs, and there's a whole story, shape-shifting and creatures in the forest, all that good, like proggy, folklore, old English shit and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a very, very influential album on me. So whatever year that was when I bought that, I was already writing songs like that. I had like a 20-minute continuous song that I composed back then, probably around 2009 or 10. It was called Songs from the Rhine. It's about like the Lorelei myth in the Rhine River, but I kind of changed the story around so many different times to make it more of like a Game of Thrones type of atmosphere, I guess. Merlin or Game of Thrones, all that nerdy stuff. I wrote like maybe 30, 40 songs to try to tell the story in a very literal or less abstract type of lyric writing. I wanted it to be more of a story. I wanted it to be more of a narrative, so I didn't really care about the poetic language of the lyrics and stuff. When I returned to it a couple years ago, I kind of reformed it, and I made the lyrics a little bit more poetic because I didn't really like how they sounded. But a lot of it stayed the same. Like, this song didn't change much at all. There's 24 songs on this double album, 12 songs on side A, 12 on the, or part 1, 12 songs part 2. And this might be the best one, I think, because it's the most technical and it's the most like powerful. It opens up part 2 with like just a crazy heavy riff, because the story is kind of dark. It's set in medieval times along the Rhine River. There's like a crazy perverted king, and there's like a village that he kind of just abuses all the time. All these poor villagers get bombarded by his demented mania and cruelty. So the whole story is kind of centered around that. There's a villain, just like Game of Thrones. If you like Game of Thrones stuff, then you'll like the general feel of this album, I think, because it's very inspired by a lot of the villains in Game of Thrones, and just, well, Game of Thrones is based on probably real life characters, Ivan the Terrible, and people throughout history that were just complete maniacs, like with a lot of power, even popes, even kings throughout the world, and just crazy invading armies, all that good crazy medieval shit. And yeah, it's a pretty basic story about the Lorelei myth, and I split it up, like I said, into two albums, 12 songs each. There were a lot of instrumentals, but eventually I forced myself to put just a little bit of lyrics to make it more inviting on the page, at least. I think this is the first chapter in my book of all my concept albums because it's the first one I ever came up with. And if you, inside my book in the first chapter, I tell the story of where these songs came from, the inspiration, like I said, The Hazards of Love by the Decemberists, and there's a book by Wilhelm Ruland, I think that's his name, called Legends of the Rhine, and that includes all kinds of folklore from the Lorelei myth to other. It's really interesting book if you like that medieval folklore stuff. But I would have never went down this avenue or looked into the Lorelei myth. I don't know why I really centered it on that. It just was an interesting thing, and it just kind of caught my imagination. But if it wasn't for The Hazards of Love, I don't think I would have tried to write an album like this, because I wasn't a proggy guy, really. I liked the Decemberists, pretty much everything they put out before that. And The Hazards of Love just kind of, it was more cinematic. There's a whole story involved, and yeah, it made me want to write an album like that told a story in an interesting way. And I see this as like an animation as well. If this story would be told, I would just have it told as an animation, and you don't even need dialogue. You just show the pictures as the songs are playing, like The Hazards of Love did. And other albums did that as well. Sturgill Simpson, Sound and Fury, really cool animation on that. And just like Pink Floyd, The Wall, that type of animation, heavy metal. I love that stuff. It's hard not to get. It's an animation that's like very escapist. You can go into this world and just zone out completely. Like, I watched heavy metal from the 80s, and yeah, there's some weird stuff. Big booby cartoon characters. And yeah, there's some weird stuff that's probably not for children. Of course, not for children. But the type of animation is really cool. You can escape into that world very easily and just, I don't know, it takes you away without the use of drugs, and that's hard to do sometimes. If you can go on a trip outside your own thoughts and stuff for an hour, 2 hours without the use of drugs, I'm not saying drugs are good or whatever, but it's hard to find that different realm of consciousness sometimes without doing like a psychedelic. Not that I know these things, I've not really experimented with this shit, with psychedelic stuff, but from what I hear, it takes you to a different realm of consciousness. So when a movie or an album like The Hazards of Love can remove all your anxieties and bullshit from your head and take you to a different reality, it's powerful, man. That's Pink Floyd, The Wall, that's what that does, or for me at least. And that's what I was trying to create with this. I wanted to escape for myself and provide something that other people could escape to. The songs are kind of all over the place, but I don't know, I picture them, there's a lot of waltzes. This song I'm doing today, which is called The Four Shades of Twilight, it's the first song on part 2 of Songs from the Rhine. It has waltzy parts, and then it has a time signature change to just simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there is a time signature that changes, which I rarely ever try to compose like that. But this came naturally, like whenever I wrote this song, 2009, 10, I don't even remember at this point. I didn't know about time signature changes. Like, So I wrote this not even knowing that's what I was doing. It just sounded cool when I was playing it. And I don't think there's any other songs out of the 24 that experiment with time signature changes or anything like that. It's not something I ever set out to do because this just came naturally and it just fit perfectly. It's not the hardest song to play. It's only maybe 4 chords through every part, but there are some difficult riffs, or difficult, when I say difficult, for people like myself who aren't professionals. Like, that's nothing, but that's pretty much what the riff is. It's just a simple scale, really. But it fits the song very well. So there's some riffy parts, there's some waltzy parts, and there's some normal parts, and I'm maybe proudest of the vocal melody. I wanted to pick this song because it showcased like an early song that I wrote over 10 years ago, and how my songwriting has progressed or maybe stayed the same. In some regards, it really hasn't changed that much. I still listen to the Decemberists and stuff like that and try to get inspired by stuff like that. And even their last album, it grew on me after a couple listens and I really liked it. And I don't know, maybe my influences have changed a little bit since I was like in my 20s and stuff and my 30s, but I don't know, not really. I'm not trying to write completely different than when I first started trying to write songs. It's the same process, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm not writing anything new at the moment because I'm doing other projects, but if I was going to try to write another album, I would just do the same thing over again. I would try to disappear and just play the guitar for an hour, 2 hours a day and record it. Hopefully out of that hour jam session every day, there's like little snippets of cool stuff that I naturally go to, and then I would try to form an album like that again. That's basically how I've done it over 54 concept albums that I wrote. And this one's kind of unique, Songs from the Rhine, because it does tell a story. There's a first act, second act, third act. There's a love story. There's like a whole war scene with pirates and shit. So I'm using all kind of tropes and stuff in this story that's been used a million times, but I feel like I went down a different avenue. And because of the music and the songs, I was able to form a story that might be a little bit more unique than a typical Game of Thrones episode. Like, Game of Thrones, yeah, I love that show. It was an amazing show. Just for the acting and production value, you could watch it all over and over and over. It's so good. Even the show Merlin, if people remember that show, a lot of the same actors that were in Game of Thrones were in Merlin, and it's an underrated show. It's really well done. So I like that old, I don't know, Renaissance fair shit. I don't know what to call it. Old English folklore, all that. I don't even know how to term it. I guess it's like, yeah, it's Renaissance fair. I wouldn't really say I'm writing Renaissance fair music, but because there are folk bands that go that direction. But I love that stuff. Pentangle was like my favorite folk band. I got completely obsessed with that band, Pentangle, and that brand of old English folklore and stuff like that. It's cool. Even the Decemberists had an album with, I believe her name was Olivia Cheney. I think it was called Alpha Rex or something like that. And they made like an old English folklore album, but kind of more heavy with distorted guitars and stuff. And I liked it. I really do enjoy that stuff. I'm not always in the mood for it. Like, you gotta be in the mood for it, because it is like going to a Renaissance fair. It's weird. I don't know. I didn't grow up with that stuff, but I don't know. I guess you just learn to kind of enjoy it, a different kind of folklore. Like, yeah, recently I tried to watch. This will be the last tangent I go down before I play the song. Recently I tried to watch that Joseph Campbell show again, where he talks about mythology throughout the last, well, for the longest time since human civilization, and how mythology just continues and gets reinterpreted or adapted to fit modern times. And his whole thing about there's only like a certain number of stories you can tell, because the hero's quest and all that stuff, there's only a limited number of stories in the human consciousness. You could reinterpret stuff, but it's always going to be the same type of myth, hero's quest and stuff like that. It's really good. I can't say it enough. It's really cool. I forget what it's called. Joseph Campbell, his mythology series. I have it on a video for Amazon. But it's just good background while you're working. Put that on, and it kind of just, certain things he talks about will be like, holy shit, I never thought of it like that. So why was I bringing this up? I guess that's kind of like what I'm trying to do, because I'm telling the story with this album, Songs from the Rhine. That's, a lot of people would say, is very basic. There's the Lorelei. I'm not stealing that story. I'm using the folklore of the Lorelei myth in the Rhine region, that she's the one that comes from the depths of the Rhine River and leads all the ships to their death and stuff with her siren song. That's just cool, man. That's a cool mythological concept. And that's pretty much how I started this album. It's not just about that. It's kind of, she's the villain, then she becomes the hero. It's one of those types of stories, because, yeah, she's bloodthirsty and she kills a bunch of people, but she's also like a redeeming character in a way. I like to bring that into a lot of my characters. And that's basically, if I was giving a pitch of Songs from the Rhine, because I see it could be a play, it could be a musical, it could be an animation, if it's ever adapted into something. It could be, there are visual elements that add to the story. And yeah, this would be the one album maybe that, if I ever recorded these songs, I would need some kind of a visual element, whether it's animation or an actual play with real actors or a musical. I don't know. There's a lot of different directions you can go. I like animation because it gives you more freedom to do whatever you want. You don't have to tell actors to do some crazy stunts or something, because there's battle scenes and war scenes that would be cool if they're animation. Like, I don't know if that's less expensive, more expensive. I don't know, man. CGI stuff. But that's kind of how I picture it when I was writing these songs and the lyrics and the story. Because in my book, I did write out the whole story. Maybe it's a very short story, because I didn't want to write it like a novel or anything, or a screenplay. I just wrote a short story, very basic, where, as this song that I'm going to play right now, The Four Shades of Twilight, plays on the album, what will the audience see on the screen? That's what I was kind of writing the story, following those guidelines. And yeah, it was kind of cool. I think it came out pretty good. And yeah, I'm not the type of writer. I love writing screenplays. I can maybe get away with like short stories and be somewhat, I don't know, be able to keep the audience's attention, the reader's attention, and be captivating. I don't think I could write a novel. because that's just too much, man. That's like building a house where you have to take like years of your life dedicated to one story that might suck in the end. A novel just seems like there's too much pretentiousness and too much shit like that because you're taking years and years of your life, which inevitably puts this air of importance on it and self-importance, like, oh, this novel is going to change everything. I don't want to take 2-3 years of my life to write a novel. Plus, I don't think I have the writing skills to do something like that. Maybe it's the instant gratification generation. I'm kind of a part of that, maybe. I don't know. People say that all the time. Like, well, your generation wants instant gratification. I don't think I'm completely like that. Like, I'm in my 40s. I'm not a part of that generation, whatever the generation is now. But maybe there's a part of that. Because if I think I can write a novel, I don't even think I would want to. Even if I had the technical writing skills to turn one of my screenplays into a long short story or a novel, I don't think I could do it. It's just too much of a commitment, and it might suck. How many novels actually become financially successful? So, I don't know, man. It's like spending 6 months on one painting. Like, I'll never understand it. I don't understand how somebody could paint one picture like 6 months it would take them. Like, I don't understand how that works. Are you doing like 8 hours a day on the same painting? Like, all right, if you're doing the Sistine Chapel or some shit like that, maybe that makes sense. But yeah, I'm going way scramble brain. So that's like the longest introduction I've done so far. That's like 20 minutes. I might have to cut some of this out. But all right, this is the part of the video where I actually talk about how the song goes, because that's the most important thing, the anatomy of a song. And I said this is pretty simple song, but there are some parts that could get complicated because the time signature changes. So I'm in drop D tuning like I usually do, and I hope my guitar's tuned correctly. It sounds like I have a recording of this from when I first came up with it, and it sounds pretty much exactly the same as what I came up with back then. Because there's like 3 different parts to this song that I was getting confused by. But this would be the intro finger picking into that first riff. Yeah, I'm rusty with this song. I did spend about 15 minutes remembering how to play this, but it's not sounding how I pictured it exactly. I'll try it again. I'll cut out the rest of it. So I'm going to play the intro finger picking into the riff part. Maybe this would sound better with an electric guitar because it could kind of hide some of the rhythm problems I'm having. was having some problem because there's two different kind of bipolar sections: the finger picking, and then you go to. There's a different one that leads to the verse chords, which features the time signature change, because from the beginning it's just 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even when you get heavier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 8. So up until that point, it's just simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it gets to a waltzy part of this song. Because after you do that finger picking again, one, two. So now it becomes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So there is a time signature there, a change of time signatures. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now this leads to the verse, which is still a waltzy type of feel to it. Through the traumas, out their window, where their memories keep their bodies warm. Ship of fools heading home. Muted treasure, sense evicted, where the twilight shades the world in full. Passing storm, bones to mourn. Now it gets even more heavy. This is when you could get the heavy metal guitars going towards the chorus part. I'm gonna have trouble singing this again. Bled out from veins, the crypt were redrawn. Time without measure or dominance. It's hard for me to sing this while I'm playing it. I want to sing it like a heavy metal voice, like bled out from veins, the corpse we redrawn. Time without measure or dominance. Bled out from veins, the crypt we draw. or dominant. Yeah, it's a cool little chorus section there with the heavy metal electric effects or whatever you want to put there. It could be a very epic type of feel to this. Because I picture this, when I'm playing this part, I picture like at a big concert arena, like one of those epic, where the crowd's singing along and shit. Bled out from veins, the crypt redrawn. Time without measure or dominance. Maybe if you're playing acoustic, you have to use vocalizations like this because it's too hard to do. At least for me, it's too hard. Bled out from a vein, the crypt redrawn. Yeah, I can't do that shit, man. Maybe it's my posture's bad, but that's an excuse probably. Bled out from veins, the crypt redrawn. Time without measure or dominance. So yeah, for people who can do that, I think it's a pretty cool chorus. And it's still that waltzy 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Bled out from veins, the crypt redrawn. 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Yeah, it's not like the most complicated riff there, but it fits it. It fits the song. You could have harmony guitars and shit. Yeah, you could do other stuff there to make it more interesting. This is already kind of a long song, so I don't know if I see a lot of instrumental parts, but there's opportunity to put some harmonics, harmony guitar, and some other more interesting technical stuff. But I really like the chorus, like. And so we're going from kind of a mellow verse to a pretty heavy chorus. I like that effect. And after that, you can kind of, well, there's two parts to the chorus. There's bled out from veins, the crypt redrawn, time without measure or dominant. And then there's shut eyes away, the flow final strong. Mind without pleasure or punishment. A mind without pleasure or punishment. Shut eyes awake, the final strong. A mind without pleasure or punishment. After that, you can go back to like the intro riff. I would probably go right into the next verses after that. And it's only one more verse to go. So after you do that, you could go trapped rebellion, chain tradition, where redemption hums her manic score. It might be easier for me to sing this without playing, but now that I sing this, I kind of hear the My Brightest Diamond voice. So maybe there's a female voice that should be singing this. If you know My Brightest Diamond, their own she's on, I forget her name, her real name, I forget. But My Brightest Diamond, the vocalist, female vocalist, was on The Hazards of Love, and she did a lot of like the opera parts. Not opera, but like the loud, female, crazy. She is like a siren. Like her voice is crazy, crazy powerful. So that's kind of the voice I hear in my head. Trapped rebellion, chain tradition, where redemption hums her manic score. Traded cues, carving moons. It's hard for me to get these out like this because I'm hearing it in my head in a certain way, and I'm trying to sing it to do justice to the way I hear it, but it's tough for me to do it. Trapped rebellion, chain tradition, where redemption hums her manic score. Traded cues, carving moons. So after that, you go right back to the chorus again. Bled out from veins, the crypt redrawn. Time without measure of dominance. Shut eyes away, the final straw. A mind without pleasure of punishment. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole song. I know I'm sounding like I don't know, fumbling through this, and I am fumbling through this. This might be the hardest song I've done so far. Mainly because I can't sing it the way I want to sing it, and I'm trying to improvise a different way to sing it to make it fit my voice better. But if you never heard My Brightest Diamond, go check her out. She had a solo album too, but apologies, I forget her name right now. When I do my Substack, I'm going to put The Decemberist, Hazards of Love. I'll put My Brightest Diamond, and maybe I'll think of somebody else that has like that siren type of voice. And I guess, yeah, I'll come up with another female powerful vocalist. I can't think of any right now that has a powerful, like you would say, that woman is like a siren, you know. She has that powerful voice that can hypnotize people. That's basically the whole song, though. I know I was struggling through the intro parts. Maybe I'll try to play it now without singing anything to give you the form and structure of the song. I still can't do it. I think you get the idea. I don't know if I would classify this as a heavy metal song, but you do get that where you just want to headbang, man. Where, especially the chorus part. You do get a heavy metal feel. And yeah, that's probably why I like this song the most. Because the Hazards of Love kind of showed you could do a folky, psychedelic, proggy album with heavy metal stuff to give it more balls. Because I like the Decemberists, even like their more mellow stuff that's very folky. I like that stuff just as much, but when you hear a band like the Decemberists doing like heavy metal riffs, like the Hazards of Love, there's only certain songs that have a little bit of a heavy metal feel. It's not all over the album, but it just gives it a different level when you could add that element of balls. Like, it gives it a different feel, man. It's like if Morrissey or the Smiths ever put heavy metal in their music, it would probably be cool because they're like the antithesis of that. But it's kind of cool to even Robert Smith, if The Cure like did like a heavy metal album. Yeah, I know people will say, what about Lou Reed and Metallica? And I can't speak to that album they did together because I never listened to it. I'm a product of the hype where everyone said Lulu, is that what it's called? Everyone said Lulu was terrible, Metallica and Lou Reed. But I never listened to it, so I can't judge it. Maybe I'll love it. I don't know. Maybe it needs to be re-examined again. I'll listen to it later today. Maybe I'll like it just because everyone else seems to hate it. But yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah, if you get to this part of the video, if you watch this far, I think you can see the song composition I'm going for, and it fits the mood of the story very well. If you want to read the entire story of Songs from the Rhine, it is on my Substack. It's not as good as the story that I wrote in my book, though. The story I wrote in my book, I edited like, 20, 30 times to get it to sound better. But if you go on my Substack and look for Songs from the Rhine, there's like a paragraph before the lyrics to the song that explain what the characters are going through. And well, for this song, The Four Shades of Twilight, it's kind of about one of the lead. I don't know if he's not the only hero in this, because there's a pirate, Klaus, who is supposed to fight the king and reclaim the kingdom for the people. And the Four Shades of Twilight is kind of like him renewing his pact with Lorelai, because she's the one. She was about to kill him, and he was like, "I'll sacrifice myself to your mission." So she told him he has to defeat the evil king and take back the kingdom. So he's kind of renewing his covenant with the siren. There's a deeper story to this thing, but that's basically what it is. And he's kind of he went through some shit already, so he's about to give up. And she's like, "No, you have to fulfill your promise." And he has to go save this woman and try to kill the king and his army. And yeah, it's one of those types of stories, but there's more involved with it. It's not just the basic pirates. Pirates. You have to have pirates in the story, right? Like, how can you not have pirates, man? But it's not just a basic story like that. There is some more symbolic, deeper meanings to stuff. At least I tried to do that. When a writer says that, he or she's probably sounding pretentious as fuck. But I try to put something deeper, because I don't want to just copy the stories I've seen since I was a kid, King Arthur and all that shit. I don't want to just copy these stories. I want to add something different to it. So hopefully I got something like that with this album specifically, because it's probably the only concept album, and it's the first one I ever wrote that is just a story. It's primarily a narrative. There's a couple others that formed like that, and maybe my progression from 10, 15 years ago was I was more trying to write like movies through music. I wanted to write cinematic experiences through song, which I still want to do, but I haven't really come up with anything new at this point. When I get the urge to write a story, I just write screenplays now, but I haven't done that in a while too. But back around when I wrote this, I wasn't writing screenplays or anything like that. I was just focusing on writing songs that told a narrative, and basically that's what Songs from the Rhine became. And the actual story was kind of in my head, but I didn't put it to paper until maybe 2020, 2022, around that time. I had the basic structure already in like notebooks and stuff, but I never took the time to write the whole short story for an audience to read. So I'll end this video from that. If you're one of those people who write stuff, but you're afraid to share it with people, so you just tuck it away for years, 5 years, 10 years. In my case, this is almost 20 years ago. Just put it out there, like, any way you want to. Go to a free class or whatever, or put it online. Get feedback from professionals, get feedback from amateur people like myself. That was a big plus for me. When I was writing screenplays, I would review other people's screenplays and people would review mine, and sometimes you get some good insight. A lot of times it was just a lot of nonsense and trolling, but sometimes you would get some good feedback from people who seemed to be interested in helping other people. And I guess I'll end it there, because yeah, I could have done this 20 years ago, man, if I wasn't afraid and I had confidence in my work. I could have done this 20 years ago. Been like, hey, I just wrote this song, I have this cool idea. I just listened to Hazards of Love by the Decemberists and it inspired me to write this. But I didn't want to share it with people. I don't know. I just, maybe like couple close friends I would share stuff with, but to do it like this and hopefully somebody shares an interest, and then this could actually get greenlit into some kind of a production. Like, yeah, it's not a pipe dream in my opinion. I think the internet and social media has allowed people to do this. If you want to do it yourself, you can find like-minded people who maybe have the resources to put something together like this. That's the free market, right? Even though I can't, I still can't put this on Facebook. I still can't put this on Instagram because for some reason I'm blocked from those sites, which hinders my opportunity. And yeah, I'm still kind of frustrated by that. Instagram, especially, as a visual artist, I could use Instagram. I already spoke about this, so I don't want to go into this. But because of social media and the global community that the internet can present, it's not always going to be like that. It's not going to be a good experience, but there is an opportunity, and I'm still learning how to go about doing stuff like this. I'm still learning. I don't know how to utilize social media to connect with people or network myself as much as other people might know it. But yeah, I'll end it with that because, yeah, I should have done this 20 years ago. When I first came up with these songs and stuff, I should have just put it out there. I wasn't really ready back then to compose an entire double album or something like that. I probably wasn't ready. I was still learning how to write songs back then. I'm still learning now, but after doing this whole process of my book, writing songs and lyrics for 400 songs, I feel confident that I can do it, like in a professional manner. Maybe I can't perform it professionally, but I can write the songs in a professional manner, and that makes sense to musicians when they go to play it. And maybe some of my songs are more personal and have more abstract lyrics that are tough for other artists to take on, but a song like this is just a basic lyrical narrative, and I picture it either as an animation or a play or a musical, so I feel like it could be done by any artist, which is why it's cool to write stuff like that. Concept albums where it's not really personal to me. This was just based on Rhine folklore. Like, I've never been to that region of the world, never been to France or Germany or Amsterdam, but I'm interested in just folklore in general. It could have been Indian folklore, it could have been Middle Eastern, it could have been Russian or whatever. Folklore, back to the Joseph Campbell thing, it's all based on the same stuff. Creation myths and virgin births and resurrections and stuff like that. It's always similar themes through all these different cultures and stuff. So yeah, hopefully this one shows a side of my songwriting that's more narrative based and more, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It's more viable for a global audience because everyone wants to watch a movie like that. Why do the Marvel movies make billions of dollars? Marvel movies are just retelling of like Bible myths or other kinds of myths. Every Marvel movie is just based on some kind of symbolic element like that. Not that I've seen them all or anything, but there's an element of old mythology. If Joseph Campbell was around and he was talking about Marvel movies today, he'd be saying the same stuff that he said 30, 40 years ago. That all modern art, he was talking about Star Wars. It's based on biblical mythology or other Greek myths. And yeah, I think Star Wars is clearly based on certain religious or philosophical movements of the past. everything kind of builds on top of each other, and that's all I'm trying to do with this. With Songs from the Rhine, that's all I'm trying to do is hopefully add something unique to the same type of story that every generation tells and seems to enjoy. So that's it. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing because I rambled in this one a lot. Go to my Substack page. Go check out The Decemberist, The Hazards of Love, My Bread is Diamond, and listen to some music.